Hello, everyone. How is everybody doing? Me too. I forgot to bring books to sell to you, and they're sitting on my bookshelf, just waiting to be turned into money. But this is what it looks like. You can find it at various bookstores. Hopefully not here, because it only came out a year ago. And actually, maybe that's for the best, because I'm only going to read a little bit from the book, because I have new material, and it's nice, especially if the room is full, to kind of read new material and see how people respond to it. So I'll just read maybe one or two from my book and then move on to new stuff. And my book is called Otter, as Colin said. That was a very kind intro. Thank you, Colin. I'm going to read the first poem from the book, and that poem is called Armadillo. My lover spent his summer in the south, carving armadillos from their husks. It was, to hear him say it, an experience. The term people save for the places they hate. He spent June in the sunroom with a picture of sweet tea and a picture of me. By August, just the tea, watching Hicks suck cigarettes through long aristocratic sticks, papaya seeds stuck between their burnt sienna teeth. Everything was burnt there. My lover carved years off his life with the very same knife the armadillos learned to fear. Where are they now? I asked him as snowfall took care of the candles I had lit. The not quite rodents, not quite reptiles, not quite right gatecrashers of the ark. How does their nudity suit them? Do they sigh, all cool, how we sighed last year when we threw our anoraks off and found we had that chalet to ourselves? If we were ever blameless, it was then. I held your locks in a Chinese bun as you went south, indeed, throwing upon my balls your tongue, how sea urchins throw their stomachs upon the coral reefs they eat. At which point my lover raised his knife to my hairline, scalped me masterfully, and poured into my open brain a tea so cold and sweet. I'll read one more from the book. Called Gulag. Gulag. Old friend, you have caught me at my most lost, limp-limbed in the gulag of unemployment. I have become God's ombudsman. He scrapes his plate into my lap. Remember that prayer I sent from Verdun as you shoved human chunks down the mouths of latrines, shouting, "Worms, as ever, get the last of it," and I knew not if it meant bone or narrative. When I ask for that prayer back, God changes the subject. This is life after armistice, old friend. Leave to consult your advisor, and he'll leave to consult his advisor. Give something to God, and he'll keep it to have something on you. So those are two poems from Otter, which you can definitely buy somewhere, but not here today. I'll be reading at VerseFest. Come buy my book at VerseFest. Okay, I'm going to read new material. I'm going to keep my eye on the clock. I have about 20 minutes, is that right? Yeah, cool. Oh my gosh, forever. Okay. So after I wrote Otter, I was very happy because I had written a book. But after you write a book, you have to write more poems, which I hadn't realized. So here are some of those new poems. And this one is called Caretaker. There's the house, there's the way into the house. Hot head blood, a difficult decision being responded to. We are hurting men. We house and cause great woe. The moss growing outside by 1 millimeter every warm year. It's harder to tell when you are away, plus I care less too. Inert things proceed with no regard for human assent. God will not fail to take such a martyrdom into account. You create a fluid and place it inside me and leave it there. The dreams we have mean that we will love one another. Come back, though. I am sick with all kinds. Okay. I read a book about octopuses, which is the correct pluralization. And the book taught me that. And also taught me all kinds of things about octopuses. And sometimes you read a book about one thing and it's so amazing, and then you write a poem featuring as many of the facts that you've learned as possible. So that's what this is. And it's called The Offing. 2.5 meters beyond itself, the octopus cannot see. All retinae shoot radii. Mine, for instance, tell me that there's no one here, not even beside me. This is the longest room I occupy with any regularity. Tracks going on and on upon an indoor horizon. Union Station. Back here, we sears off, stand straight beside an expanse no brain would survive a serious fathoming of. It causes a longing, a pressurized pinch the Valsalva maneuver could not slough off. If showing signs of boredom, the octopus is handed an eyeless, noseless, mouthless, earless, mustacheless Mr. Potato Head. In her final years, she dotes on empty eggs. In the pan, she really shrinks. How do we measure her peripheral limits in imperial units? 8 feet exactly. You can't make this stuff up. When you're the one watching, not taking up air in the train, time passes notionally, how it's said to pass on a coastal periphery. Some things that are getting smaller really are getting smaller. Some are just getting away. This one is about, this one's called Burning Tree. I read this at Tree, like the open mic at Tree a few months ago, and that was right after the Paris attacks. And I'm going to read it again. It's basically the same. So if you were here then, take a nap. Burning Tree. Last time I went climbing, I had stamina and calluses and a bag of chalk. It hung from the lumbar like a bunny tail. Now the blood is so close to my surfaces, I slip off the walls. Tonight is the night of a massacre I do not look at. I have been to that city of steel and bricks and black blooms. A woman with a cigarette asked me for fire there, and I provided it. I had been asked for a light before, but never for fire. Now I climb 300 stairs towards the light of my device. Maybe we will be wartime people, leading wartime lives. Skirmishes have sprung from the heads of lesser gods. This is the light no one reads by. We just stare into it. We wait for the glyphs that mean it is safe. Moving on, I've been really into an artist named Agnes Martin, who is technically Canadian, but she's, for all intents and purposes, American. She's like the really simple lines and grids that people point at and say that they could have done. And she had a really fascinating life. And I've been stealing my titles from her paintings, which accounts for, like, they're not very good titles, but I'm really into them. Anyway. This one is called I Love the Whole World, which is like the best title and the worst title. I love the whole world. Within the knotted bloodstream, a current made almost of silk. It is wordless and super mean, and I am learning to pay attention. Below its strata shunt the unnecessary effluents, the sugar water, the caffeine, the crema, the various oils. Pulsing along, as nearby life forms collapse and expand, enter their last beds, and exit vaginas screaming for less air. Love is but a trick of the light, a side effect of having sight. I am on my second coffee and a bus, and I love the whole world. Later I'll get fired, or sick, or both, or tired of trying to get loved back. After which event I will depress. I will have loved the world, though. Every blood cell will have briefly corresponded to a star. This one, another title I stole from Agnes Martin, Innocent Love. I have been given a number of memories to reflect on today. Here's one of me with the big wound hidden. It is healthy having something to proceed in spite of. Doesn't the whole rigmarole bring to mind the eggs of the dogfish sharks? Beneath the ocean marinate those curly little purses, the backlit cells within taking each other by the cilium, carbons vibrating together into one mean pup, the vulnerable eon forgotten in an effort to move forward forever. How do we tell a gill from a wound? A poem the ribosomes wrote from a sentence the world imparted. Forgive the lack of contrast, the strange angle, and the unforgiving light. I just remember wanting to surmount something impressive single-handedly. This one is called Friendship. We never kissed with tongues, not even on the night before your flight home. This is a relief because it's easier to write the poem that way. We were in the firm throes of all these goodbyes that winter. Goodbye tank tops, and goodbye impoverishment, and goodbye the silvery goldy feeling. I stole a room from under you and painted it ceremonial blue. Some of its holes I plastered away, and some had no bottoms to graze. Black maples shattered that winter. Yes, that's how alone the sun left the earth. Eviction occurred, and the sudden descent of the whole entire ceiling. No casualties, just a fine white patina on all the room's dark items. Goodbye had barely left my blood-split mouth alone. Not to lay the pressure on, but it's your turn to write and try to hurry. Soon the stories bound for this address will not be bound for me. Cool. Two more poems. This one is called Field. Oh, little cousin, oh, last of the name, you bike to the lake all alone. It rains, you miss your sisters, you go home, they aren't home. 4 shoes on an oak tree trunk. Too small, too big, too blue, too brown, one undone. The hope was they'd dry out, but instead icicles bursted from them. It is quiet and sub-zero and appropriate to cry. Perhaps you never think of me, but I think of you frequently. I spent the years you're in the midst of failing to adopt methods. I learned that an era best finishes with the word goodbye. It is heard in the timbre your voice has had since the day it cracked. I learned What happens when you say something into a room? You give the room a chance to reply with silence. And one last poem. I've used up all the Agnes Martin titles, so this one is like, I don't know, help. What's it called? And thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Tree. Thank you. Soon I will learn if you are alive. Procedures begin where ifs end. This is an if. I prep myself for both sides of. My little notebook is always full of question marks. Some designate confusion, some designate doubt. Others mean I will figure out a detail later. Like it is not important. Like there's an end to get to. I cannot stop refreshing the page because of a gun half the country away. So send me a message the second you get this.